Hello, and thank you for joining me on 100 Days to Hyrox. Going to be talking about three apps that I use and have used over the last 18 months, and I use regularly to track my progress, know where I am, and know where I'm going. So, we're going to go through three apps today. So, let's dive in. So, the first app is one that I've talked about a little bit, and it's called Boditrax. And now, to say it's an app, it is an app. It's also available on a website. But it comes down to the hardware that's available in our gym. And this is a scales and scanner machine where you hold on to some handles. And you use it to find out your BMR, your muscle mass, your bone density, your fat, and all those kind of vital statistics. Now, I've done a video on some of them, or diving into a lot of these stats and my progress over the 18-month. What I wanted to do with this one is just pick up on some stats, and today's a good day to do this, which is why I've chosen to kind of do this one. So I'm going to put these up now. These are just from the actual app on my phone from the scan results. And what I want to do is I want to focus on the scan results over the last couple of days, or the last three scans. You can see this one is from the 26th. Now this one I had 11.2 kilograms of fat. And that was the scan for that day. And that was fine. It was kind of in line with what I thought it was. One of the key things I want to show you this is there is a lag between if you're eating to a deficit, training hard, and then do your kind of measurements, as it were, and depending on what time of day and things like that. So the key thing with all of these is for me, it's about direction of travel. I'm not, betting the house on any of these figures or getting particularly worked up about these figures in either way. A bad set of figures, I look at what I'm doing. If I know I'm doing the right things, I just use it to spur me on. If a good set of figures, then I know I'm doing the right thing and I use it to spur me on. So it's more just to track that progress. So this was on the 26th. Then this one here was on the 29th, and you'll see just 0.1 of a kilogram difference. So not a great deal. And you'll notice it's actually gone up. And now I was eating to a deficit of this. This was only a couple of days later. So this was slightly unexpected, but I know that when you're eating, everything isn't mathematical from the point of view. If you eat a deficit on a Tuesday and weigh on a Wednesday, you won't necessarily weigh less on a Wednesday because of time and movement through body and your body adapting and stuff like that. So this was the 29th. This was today. So this was the 1st of August, and you'll see a massive change there from 11.3 through to 9.2. So huge kilogram loss there. Now, the reality is over the course of the last few scans, that was happening, but it's again, this is this lag to go through there. Now, the interesting thing, I'm going to switch this over to the body fat percentage, because that's the real thing. The amount, if you weighed 70 kilos, 65 kilos, this would be proportionally a bigger percentage of fat. So it comes down to how much I weigh. So if we go into the percentages, so going back to the 26th, you can see 14.8% body fat. Now, for many months now, I've bounced around this kind of 14 and a half, gone into the 15s. I've never gone below 14. And because I've been eating to maintenance when I was training up towards cyclone, that was kind of expected. So go to the next measurement. Now you'll notice here that although my weight had gone up slightly, my percentage of body fat had stayed the same, because at the same time, you'll see when we look at the muscle, that had changed as well. So it kind of evened itself out. Fast forward to today, 12.1%, lowest figure I've ever seen. Now, this was, again, a double combination of the fat's gone down and eating to the strong calorie deficit last week, but also my muscle has gone up in this and my water is up. So, of course, because this is body fat percentage, if my muscle goes up and my fat goes down, that percentage is going to be a lot bigger. If my fat had just gone down and muscle had stayed the same, then it still would have been a significant drop, but it wouldn't have been quite as significant. So what I'm expecting, and the reason why I'm flagging this, I'm expecting over the next kind of week to 10 days, this will kind of even out a little bit. I suspect I will get a measurement where this jumps back up, particularly if it's a day when my water is down and we go back into 13 and then it comes down at 12 and a half or something like that. We'll see what it actually does. but it will now bounce around that. Now, again, this is a watershed moment for me to see this. Bear in mind, I started with over 30% body fat, so this is great. I'm really pleased with this, but what I'm going to be aiming to achieve over the next 3 or 4 weeks is this consistency so that I can get this down so that where I've been stuck around kind of 14 and a half, I want to be stuck around 12. So it only goes up by a little bit, goes down by a little bit, and I kind of aim between this 11 to 12%, which is what I want to kind of hold ideally. So we're going to see how that kind of develops. Now, at the same point, we'll look at the muscle mass over these two, because again, these work in tandem. So again, this is the 26th, so 61.2 kilograms of muscle there. 61.6, so a small 0.4 kilogram worth of muscle increase there. And then go to today, 63.3. So these are the things that have made such a big swing in this percentage. It's not, there is a big chunk of less fat, but because the muscle's gone up at the same time, then those figures have worked in that way. So I want to show these figures as well, because this is where obviously I've been doing a lot more running, a lot of leg work, and this is where a significant chunk of these kind of gains are coming. So this is my leg score, which has been static, I think, for the whole of this year. I think it's gone between 94 and 96. I've obviously been training the legs, but with the amount of running doing, it's a new adaptation, I think. So 26th, 96, 29th, 96 is what I expected. Today, 100. Now, this backs up by the fact that I'm seeing an increase in muscle mass, and I'm seeing an increase in leg score, and I've been doing more running and leg work. So it's fair to say that being some of the biggest muscles in your body, that's where those gains are coming from. That's where I'm seeing this kind of muscle combined with the fat loss and the deficit that's given me these. So really pleased to finally hit 100, because, we're now 1st of August and it's taken me all year to kind of get to that 100. But again, it's been that slow, steady progress, which I wanted. So Boditrax is great for showing direction of travel, showing improvements. The numbers themselves meaningless, but show it's in the right direction. Shows an increase in BMR, bone density, and things like that. So it's great to kind of have these metrics to see what's going on. So, and again, look for my other video where I go into more details over the 18-month period about these figures. So the second app that I wanted to talk about is Gentler Streak. Love this app. It's fun, it's quirky, it's colorful, it's bright. So it kind of suits me down to the ground. But what it does, obviously I've got the Apple Fitness app and you have things like Strava, but this kind of pulls that together, and there's a couple of bits that I really kind of like about this. It gives you these kind of little "you're awesome" and stuff like that, which is kind of fun. Again, it's very kind of cartoony, but it's got all the data there. It's pulling it in. You can see here there's the charts, there's the perceived energy on here, and you can see the zones, you got the calories and things like that. So it's great for kind of just tracking these trainings. You can now change the names of the training, you can add a little note, you can favorite them as well, and it gives you this very cool kind of view on the home screen, where it's not just showing you data based. There's very kind of complex things that go behind it, which is what I really like, but it simplifies it, and it's showing you your kind of path and where you are. You can see the screenshot here, and what it's doing is it takes into account what you've burnt, how hard you've pushed yourself, your heart rate, and what you're doing on consecutive days. And it will actually say, yeah, you need a rest today. You maybe, you can push on, your body's okay, and things like that. So it's great that it kind of, and it's not just doing it on if you have a rest day, it says push. You can see this kind of path, and you can see it over the course. You can see a snapshot of just the day, and you can also see how it's gone over the month as well. So it's great just to kind of see that progress and understand, yeah, okay, no, that kind of tracks with how I'm actually kind of feeling. It also monitors your pulls the stats from your sleep and things like that, and gives you kind of little recommendations. There's little articles in it and things like that. So it's just a nice, friendly, accessible way to do it. You'll have seen I've shared various screenshots because there's a share function you can see on here, to my stories and things like that, and you can add a photo just because it gives a nice kind of little version of what you're doing. So that's the kind of second app, and it's fun. I enjoy using it, which I think is one of those kind of key things. So I want to update things and name the workouts and see my progress. It also gives you a monthly recap, which you'll have seen in my story from the 1st of August. So my July recap of how many activities, how many calories burnt, and things like that. And it's fun. The calories burnt, you'll notice, it always shows it in little emojis based on fast food, which is quite cool. I haven't eaten all that fast food, but it's a cool kind of way of showing it. So I really like that. So that's Gentler Streak. The third app that I want to go into is one called Nutracheck. Now, I've mentioned many, many times about being in a calorie deficit, and I've tried more apps than I care to remember to find the best way that kind of suited me. And Nutracheck for me nailed it with three key areas. Firstly is the scanner. The UK database of food and chain restaurants and things like that is, from the apps I use, second to none. I can scan pretty much anything. I can put in a big chain restaurant in, and I can find those verified, and that's one of the key things, verified stats and nutritions and macros on those things, which just makes tracking so much easier. It's also great because you can see up here where you've got kind of the find thing. It'll show your kind of recent ones. So you're just literally selecting from a list. You can select any of these items here, and you can actually say copy, and you can copy it to the same meal for the next 7 days. So where I have my shake every morning, that just gets copied across 7 days at a time. Never have to put that in. It's just there. And because you get into the habit of eating the kind of the same things, and roughly you can do it. I could probably eat at a deficit every day now and hit my protein goals without using the app. But I like using it because if I've had a particularly big session in the gym, I go, actually, I'm going to eat a few extra 100 calories. I'm going to have a bit of a treat today, and I know I can handle that. So the other two parts of it, so just literally the ease of being able to put this thing, and you can set it up in your own way in terms of what you want your goal to be and what you want your individual kind of targets. For me, all I do is I set calories and I set protein. It's the only things you can see here: 160 calories and 165 grams of protein. They're the only two things I'm tracking, but it tracks everything else as well. But they're the ones I'm asking it to kind of show me. So what you can see on this one is this gives you a breakdown of your day. Of the key nutrients. So you can see on this day, on Tuesday, 2,179 calories. So over my 1,600 calories. It was a heavy workout day, so I decided to eat a little bit more rather than take a very hard deficit. But you can see it's tracking the fat, the saturated fat, the carbs. You can generally tell when it's a big workout day, my carbs tends to go up because I'm obviously fueling the day before or replenishing on that day. The sugar, relatively high on this one, so probably my carbs that day, there was some sugar in there. And fiber, which is another kind of important one, aiming to get 30 grams of fiber plus a day. You can see my protein, so I hit that, and you can see my salt as well. So it gives you that on a daily basis, and you can look at the 1 week and the 4 week as well, which again I find very useful. So here's the 4 week one here. So we can see what those kind of trends are and stuff like that, because this is one of the other things that I really, really liked. Is it went from me tracking every day, every 24 hours in kind of isolation, and made it very difficult to kind of understand that over the week. Whereas this gives you a great week view as well, so that you can really kind of say, okay, yeah, maybe I'm a bit higher on calories today, but the other days were good. And again, it just means over the course of the week, that's where I'm really kind of concentrating on my, my calorie deficit. Yes, if I hit it every day, I know I'm going to hit it every week. But if I don't hit it every day, that's fine. I can make it up over the week. And it's just having that data, that information at my fingertips, which is what I particularly like. So those are the three apps that I use, to say, every single day, and I've used over the last 18 months. It took me a while to find the ones I kind of liked, but they just give me that measurement in the gym of seeing where I'm going and my over kind of progress and what's kind of happening internally. Gentler Streak allows me to have a fun way of viewing that and sharing it, but also some clever science behind that kind of able for me to make those additional judgments on whether I want to push harder and where I am with that. And then the key one, certainly for hitting the fat loss goals and getting lean, is being able to properly track that nutrition, and it being easy, so easy to copy things across, to scan things, to save things, to create recipes, and track all the different kind of macros and change them, because when I go back onto maintenance, I will go in and change that calorie goal. So then what it's telling me I've got left is kind of different. I've even got a little widget on my desktop that shows the calories I've had. So it just becomes really, really easy. And I'm all about making things simple and easy so that then they happen, then they get done, rather than trying to make it overly complicated. So those are 3 apps that I think are really useful. So I hope you found that useful. I hope you found that kind of interesting. If you've got any questions about those, then please do give me a shout. And look out for videos over the next couple of weeks when I'm continuing to track that body fat percentage to see it, kind of stabilize at that 11 to 12%. And then at some point I will then move back into maintenance mode. So yeah, exciting times. 85 days to go. So thanks for joining me, and I'll catch up with you again soon.